You're listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long.
Bravo! My compliments, little lady.
Commercial!
Break for 30 seconds.
You are now listening to BaaD Radio.
Good morning and welcome to BaaD Radio. BaaD stands for Business at a Distance. This is a show about local businesses and business networking. We are here live and you can listen to us on 105.5 FM, 660 AM, or listen to us online at floridamanradio.com. You can also download the Florida Man Radio app. In addition to that, you can download the iHeartRadio app if you don't already have it. Just put Florida Man Radio in that little search bar and we will pop up. The number that you can call or text in here is 321-339-1055. And I am your host, Angela Smarito. And in studio with me, we have DJ Heather, the producer.
Good morning, everyone.
Yes, it is. So did you guys hear? Oh, I need to introduce first, but I wanted to talk about the weather. I know. It's like, really?
Just don't say another hurricane and we're
No.
good.
We also have Melissa Jacob, BaaD Radio's videographer and co-host in studio. Hey, girl.
Hello.
I'm glad you're here.
I'm here again.
I love the video from last one where you see her like rush around and hop on.
We're getting better. We're making progress.
No, I like it. It shows that we are like moving around.
She does everything.
I know. She's multifaceted. So, Striking Brand has been producing our weekly YouTube videos for BaaD Radio, which you can find on baadradio.com. And if you're looking for some excellent video photography work, you too there, you have to check out all of her stuff on strikingbrand.com.
Thank you.
And in studio, we have two new guests today. Now, in the past, we've always had 2 guests, but 2 businesses. So today we have 2 guests, but 1 business.
Hi.
So please welcome Rayce and Jorey, and I'm going to say it right. It's Mid-Florida Mortgage Professionals.
That's correct.
That's correct. And that is your business, right?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, well, let's do our sponsorship time. This portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by none other than Premier Couples Superstore. So 'tis the season to cut out the middleman and go straight to the source. Premier Couples Superstore has everything from sexy bedroom outfits, toys, games, love oils, and everything in between. You can visit them at premiercouples.net. Premier Couples Superstore, because couples that play together stay together. Melissa and I are going to do a little field trip. You want to come, Heather?
Oh.
Yes, count me in.
Okay,
Awesome.
Field trip time. Also, huge thank you to Liberty Property Inspections. They specialize in home and commercial building inspections, environmental inspections, roof certifications, and pool inspections. They can also save you money on a wind mitigation inspection. That's what they did for Tom, my husband, and I. You call them at 407-739-5795 or visit them at libertypropertyinspections.net. Also, a huge thank you to Kazoo Creative and Angela's Keen's Hair and Makeup. So, all right, all of that. Now I can catch my breath. So this portion of the show, what we're going to talk about a little bit is about some networking organizations that are around in Central Florida. Now, I had originally wanted to talk about a BNI because Melissa and I are both in a BNI chapter. Are you guys, Rayce, are you guys, either of you in a BNI chapter?
I have been in BNI, but I'm not currently in a group.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're familiar, though.
Very much, yeah.
Right. And so, but then I had recently heard about another chapter that is new. Like I said, I don't really, it's really new, but it's fairly new. And I'm hoping, I asked one of the co-founders, Bryce Robertson, to call in today. But while we're waiting on him, I wanted to see if I do a good job introducing it. So it's called Movers and Shakers.
I've heard of it. I haven't been to any events, but
Yes.
I've seen it around.
Well, the reason I wanted to bring it up is because Emily Murphy, who's like with the show as well, she told me that she closed some business through that. And so I think it's so important for people that are in business like ours to really understand how many different networking opportunities there are. Because I know the way that I am is like I get hyper-focused on one. Like I'll be hyper-focused on BNI. And then I forget all about all the other opportunities that are out there. So I do believe that Heather has Bryce on the phone.
Perfect timing.
Hey, Bryce, you're on.
Hey, Angela, how's it going?
It's going good. Thank you so much for calling on a short notice. This is what usually happens to me is I get my ideas first thing in the morning, and I'm like, I probably should try to plan ahead a little bit. So thank you for calling in. How are you doing this morning?
I am fantastic. We had a great night last night.
You guys always have great nights. I always see everything that you post. So, so the reason I wanted you to call in today is because I wanted to talk to you about movers and shakers. So could you tell our audience not real quick, but we have a little bit of time, but about the movers and shakers and how it got started?
Well, the Movers and Shakers Collective actually started with a group of people that were a little frustrated with typical networking in Central Florida and just wanted a higher level of networking where people didn't walk in, look at you for 2 seconds, throw a business card your way, and head out the door.
Yep.
And we just wanted stronger relationships, people that wanted to be around each other, wanted to figure out how to connect on a deeper level and pass referrals. We understand, well, a lot of us actually have been in BNI, have been around BNI. We understand that ultimately that's what BNI is kind of designed for, but it's still somewhat transactional in many ways. And what we wanted to create was something that was outside of that, maybe even complementary to that. And I feel like we've done that. We've been doing it for a little over a year now, and I think we're doing well.
That was my next question, is how long have you all have been doing it? So how does it work in regards to, is it a membership like BNI is?
It was not initially, and to some extent it never will be. And what I mean by that is we have what we call a monthly meetup,
okay,
which will always be open to the public. And as a matter of fact, in about 6 months or so, we're actually going to have the ability to allow someone to visit for free the very first time. Right now, it's still a ticketed event, and everybody has to pay their ticketed fee. But we are launching a membership component where any members will be able to come for free, and then any guests, their first time will be free as well.
Okay.
And ultimately, what we're looking to do is make sure that we have a solid core group, which we already do. We have about a dozen people that are at almost every event right now. And that core group has the morals and the ideal that we're looking for. They're the ones that do such a great job of welcoming everybody that nobody wants to leave when our event is over.
Right. So, from what I've seen, and I know we've talked about it in the past, actually, Bryce was on the show once, but this was like early on. I want to say it was like, was it like February or March, Bryce, I think?
It was, I think it was in January, as a matter of fact.
I know that it was Matt Morgan was with him, though. 7 foot tall Matt Morgan. That's why I remember that. So it was on before Melissa was on with the videos.
Yeah, I missed that.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, I think from what I've seen is that you guys have grown. So your events are usually an evening event, right?
Usually, yes.
So
last year in December, we did do a brunch, but every other event we've done has been an evening event. And
is it organized in that, or is it, ultimately, is it just a kind of a big get together, like a social? Or is it like organized where you go, you have speakers, people can buy sponsorships in, or like tell us how the whole thing looks?
It is pretty much a happy hour style event for the most part on the monthly meetups. And we do accept sponsorships, and that is one of the reasons why we've been able to do what we do.
Because you need money. I know all about that part, the sponsorship part.
Yeah, of course. But we usually do a charity component as well. So the sponsorships allow us to have the event, the ticket sales, and a lot of times on-site donations are what go to the charities. Right. And then as we start the membership, we're actually going to have a quarterly members-only event that will be a mastermind, and we'll be bringing people in to facilitate that mastermind.
That sounds very interesting. And so you said you have about 12 core members. When you have your socials, like I said, I've seen the pictures, and they look like you have a really, really good turnout. Tell us a little bit about how that's been, and has it grown, or have you seen different locations that pull more people?
Yeah, so we do hop around, and that's by design. We want to make sure that everybody gets exposed to us, and that core group now follows us. So we really do have a strong core group. They'll go everywhere from Sanford all the way down to Champions Gate.
Is that the farthest you've been so far, Champions Gate?
I'm sorry?
Is that the farthest that you've been so far, as Champions Gate?
As a matter of fact, we haven't even been to Champions Gate. I use that because we've actually got an event coming up in a couple of months at a private home in Champions Gate.
Nice. That is a haul,
but
though.
Claremont
I consider
as well.
that Tampa,
Yeah, exactly.
even though it's not.
It's pretty far. It's a drive.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, but that core group follows us, but we go anywhere from, I think the smallest we've ever had was about 25 people,
But that's still a
and
really
we've
good
gone up over
turnout.
90 people.
Oh, wow. What was the one that you had downtown that I was going to try to make, but something happened with my son's baseball? It was at, what was that really cool hotel that we met at?
It wasn't at the hotel. It was actually at the Robinson Room.
Robinson Room. Have you guys ever been there?
I haven't.
Have you guys ever been there?
I've never been there.
It's this really cool, like, historic building, right? It's a historic building downtown Orlando. And it's just got so many nooks and crannies. And if you guys ever see the stuff that I post on social media about what our house looks like, it's like I was having a hard time focusing on the conversation because I was like distracted by all the fun little Harry Potter looking stuff.
Cute.
And then your wife also is really involved with the organization as well, Carla, right?
Absolutely, yes. The travel goddess, Carla Rhodes. She was actually responsible for the grand prize we had last night, which was a 3-night cruise for 2 on Royal Caribbean.
Nice. Okay, so as an advertising person, how do you get the word out about these events and the prizes?
We actually... We rely heavily on those that are core to our membership because we want to make sure that the people that are in the room have the same ideals and the same philosophies that we do. We do a little bit of advertising here and there once in a while if we feel like we need to up the numbers as a responsibility to our sponsors.
Right.
But we watch very carefully and hope that our members are doing a good enough job of inviting their friends and the people that really relate to us on a deeper level.
No, I think that's fantastic. So when somebody comes, how does somebody win their prize? I love winning prizes.
So we do a door prize form at every event. So at every event, anyone who attends can win a prize. But last night we had a special event. It was our first annual Chili Cheesecakes and Cheers event.
Nice.
It was a competition.
Oh,
So we had competitors.
Nice. Like a minute to win it type thing? Like, what are we talking
I
about?
want to be a judge next
What am I
time.
doing? Am I juggling?
Yeah,
What's happening?
Juggling.
What's happening?
We actually had 2 celebrity judges, local celebrities, and but in reality, in the end, the winner actually, for the most part, bought the prize. And what I mean by that is 50% of their score was based on the amount of money they raised for charity.
Okay, I think that's
So
fantastic.
they got their friends to donate extra money to the charity, and that was what got them the win.
Awesome. Well, Bryce, thank you so much for calling in this morning, and please let everybody know how to get in touch with you and how to get more information on the Movers and Shakers.
The best way to reach us and to figure out what we're doing next is moversmeetup.com.
Mm-hmm.
And that's our link tree that will take you to whatever you're interested in, whether it's buying tickets to the next event, which is January 12th in Claremont, or if you just want to find out more about the organization or somebody to reach out to. That's the best way to go, moversmeetup.com.
Very nice. And I actually am doing Facebook Live right now. And when you have access to your Facebook, if you could put that information into the comments, that would be fantastic.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much, Bryce. And we will hopefully see you soon. But okay, we're getting ready for a break. So I teased this a couple times. But listen, if anybody out there is thinking about buying property in 2023, then stay tuned because you're going to want to hear what we have to talk about.
Florida Man Radio. Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And I'm going to second that. Welcome back to BaaD Radio. The number to call or text in is 321-339-1055. And this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Impact Electric of Orlando, who focuses on residential and commercial electrical work. Zach and his team focus on doing things right the first time to ensure that you, your family, and your home are safe. Everybody needs an electrician like in their phone that they can call at any time. Yes.
When you need them, you need them. So.
Yeah. And also, I can't even begin to tell you how many times people are like, do you know an electrician? And I'm always like, I just happen to. So you can call Zach and his team at 407-747-0874, or you can visit them at impactelectricfl.com. Also want to thank Andrew's Law PA and Sheepdog Promotional Products. All right, so before the break, we talked about buying property in 2023. But before I jump into all of that, I'd like to talk a little bit more about Mid-Florida Mortgage Professionals with Rayce and Jorey. So tell us a little bit about when you started your business.
I've been in the industry for 20 years now. So
Always in Orlando market?
Yes, always here in Oviedo, Central Florida. And started, as a small company. We've always been kind of a family-owned company where we, work with buyers one-on-one, help them get pre-approved. We're a broker, so we're not like a typical
That was going to be
bank.
one of my questions.
So as a broker, we don't work with any one particular lender. We shop for the client, figure out their credit, their scenario, what their goals are, whether they're an investor, buying an Airbnb, buying a primary, and then we help them line them up with like the best mortgage product. We have no lender fees. I kind of say most buyers want three things. They want good information, they want to be treated like family, right? And they want to know exactly all the information they need to go successfully buy a home. What are the numbers? What are the payments?
Right. That's really what it boils down to. Jorey, when did you start?
I started about 6 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so that's been a little while as well.
Yeah, it's been quite a. I mean, it hasn't been super long, but it's been a good amount of time in the mortgage industry.
6 years is a long time.
Well, in mortgage years, it's like dog years. So
yeah.
So I'm like about 54 in mortgage years, right? So
the best is when he met a young lady who eventually married, and he sat down with me one day, and he's like, "Dad."
I don't think you told everybody that you're his
dad. He's like, Dad.
You're related?
He's my son.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So he's like, you do pretty good. And I'm like, yeah, I do okay. He's like, what do you do again?
I want to do that.
Well, I knew he did mortgages, but like growing up around it, you just see him on the phone and then send in paper. And I'm like, you don't really have, you don't know what's actually going on. And my whole perception of it was like a credit card. Like people are like, I want a house, and he's like, yeah, sure, go ahead and get one. Just write it up, and there's your home.
And it was that easy.
And then he unveiled what it actually was, and it's a lot more in depth. And I'm like, okay, well, this is still cool, but a lot more in depth than what I thought it was.
Absolutely. So Heather, you guys are both homeowners.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how long have you owned your home in this market?
My current one, just over 5 years.
Okay.
Nice.
And how about you?
Like 6 or 7, something like that.
6 or 7.
Yeah.
So we bought our house in 2004, right after all the hurricanes, and it was in one of those situations that the market was very much like we just got through,
right? Where
houses were so hot that all you had to do is put like a for sale by owner,
right?
And you had 15 cash offers. So that's not really like that right now, right?
Yeah, they say the Fed always gets what they want, so they increased rates to slow the market down some.
I thought the economy did that.
Well, the Fed is trying to get in front of the economy, right? So they're trying to slow inflation down.
When you say the Fed, are you talking about the federal government?
The Federal Reserve.
A Federal Reserve, okay.
So they affect rates, and what they did is push interest rates up, right? So they pushed interest rates up, trying to slow the inflation down. So the market's still strong. You're just not getting 30 offers on every house.
Right.
Which I don't see as a bad thing.
No.
Especially for people that legit want to buy a house for their family, because I know that when Tom and I were looking for the house, we were competing with all of these investors. And they had cash but they didn't want the property to move into it and live. They wanted it to hold on to it and then sell it for a profit. But Tom and I didn't have $50,000 to put down on it. So so we're not really in that situation right now.
It's and through doing this for so long, the last few years was strictly about people selling their houses, big down payments. What I really like about now is it's regular first-time home buyers can get back in the market. You don't need a tremendous amount of money. I've got a lady that I worked with that had like a 550 score. We worked with her to help her get to a point where she could buy a home. and now she can. Where literally last year at this time, there would be no chance. There'd be 30 offers on every house.
It was so sad. I would see stories of people who were just they need a place to go,
Yeah.
and they just could not afford it. Like first-time home buyers, like how you're talking about.
And you can't afford to rent either.
Yeah.
Oh, rent's
Because you'll
ridiculous.
never be able to save for a down payment.
Yeah, I mean, rent is ridiculous right now.
Rent is more than most mortgages.
Absolutely. So you guys, I hear this all the time, and I've never really thought about it. First-time home buyers. Okay, so what if I'm a second-time home buyer? Like, does that make a difference in the purchasing process? If like I am selling my home and buying a new one, does it make a difference in like the interest rate I get and the way that I'm looked at as far as mortgages are concerned?
Go ahead, Jorey.
Not necessarily. I mean, there are specific programs that you may not be applicable for anymore, but in the general sense, I mean, you're still getting qualified. The process would generally be the same. You might be excluded from some very specific programs, but other than that, I mean, you can still do pretty low down payments. Your rates will still be based off of your
I would figure you
qualifications.
might qualify for more, especially if you have good history.
Yeah, I would piggyback on that and say our approach is different. So someone that's a move-up buyer or bought a lot of homes is one approach. If someone's buying an investment property, they're going to have different concerns. And with a first-time home buyer, it's more of a give and take. They have a lot of questions. They want to know more information. They haven't bought a house before. So I think each person has the different way that we approach them. And it's, to me, really, really cool to see first time, because to me, the cool part about being a mortgage person is the American dream of owning a home.
Right.
And so to have a first-time home buyer go through that process and be excited about owning a home, to me, that's probably one of the coolest parts.
I totally agree. Sorry, there's wildlife out here, and I totally get distracted. So something just moved.
Squirrel.
We laugh, but it's true. Like one time, a little squirrel came up here, and he just hung out, and he was like watching the show. You can't really see it, but that's what it looked like.
Just trust us. He's there.
Yes. And so that kind of leads to my next question, because I was thinking about young adults, and historically, we were always told that, as you get out of, you're in college is to rent, and then, then you get married, then you buy your first home. I mean, would you recommend that young people actually look into investing in property, out of high school, or is that just as long as they have their parents backing, I would suspect?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, yes and no. Like out of high school, I mean, that's a hard decision. But like when you're getting there's people that I'm talking to and getting it right out of college, and they're having harder decisions on whether they should buy or rent. And it's like, and when I'm having these conversations with them, you could tell through the conversation, it's a genuinely hard decision for them. They're like, I don't have 20% down. You don't need 20% down,
right.
And there's just a lot of stuff where I think the getting out of the younger group coming into the spot where they can be able to buy houses, it's not misinformation, but I think it's more of, they have this idea of what an idealistic purchase should look like with large down payment, low rates, especially.
So these are all myths.
Right. I mean, a lot of misconceptions come from. I mean, when we talk, I have a client right now who is just out of college, getting qualified, and they're like, well, they literally said we don't have 20% down, but we heard about this program. I'm like, that program won't work, but this one with 3% down will.
So you have different options.
Yeah.
And then when you're talking about if that's a good idea, I actually know someone who bought a home, had backing with parents and stuff, but bought a place that had a couple different bedrooms in it and rented out that other room and kept the property, left, and then just rented it out. Didn't pay hardly anything for it. The person who rented it basically paid for everything.
So there's a terminology that I've used, and I've heard other professionals use it as well. It's called kiddie loans. So a lot of, like, if as an example, I have a younger brother, about 10 years or so. And
he's 10 years old or 10 years younger
than me. 10 years younger than me. So he's
shout out to Hay.
19 or so. Or he's 19 right now. So like the kiddie loan is like the child or the now adult, right, would be as the primary applicant. But because they don't have any money because they're going into school, but the parents want them to have a safe spot, and the parents qualify for themselves. Well, that kid could do a first-time homebuyer program with minimum down. So the kid lives there, but the parents are financially backing that program as a co-signer. And so the parents get low down payment, better scores, and because that loan's on the kid's name, it's helping their credit for their future program.
Is such an amazing thing to do for kids.
It's great. We've done quite a few of them, and by the end of it, I mean, the kids, like you said, the kids barely pay because they have friends renting with them. It helps out in a lot of ways.
Do they still get the homestead exemption?
Yeah.
Yes.
Even though the parents are on it and they've got their own homestead?
Yeah, because the child or the young adult is the main applicant. They're the main borrower.
Right, and they're living in the residence.
Correct.
So.
And with UCF, we get a lot of parents buying. You know, the kids get right by the college, and then the parents are co-signing so they can go to school and actually get that home ownership and get that on their credit.
Because, like you said, rents are so high, it doesn't make sense to do it any other way. In my opinion, is there ever a bad time to buy?
I mean, I think the better question is, you know, people started asking the wrong question because really the real estate market got shot out of a cannon for like 3 years. And so people started thinking about almost buying a house like a stock, right? Like, oh my God, the houses are going up so fast. Or really why you own a home is if you own a home over time, instead of rent going to someone else, you pay your own mortgage, and over time, it always pays off. So if you're looking to buy a house for 1 or 2 years, that math normally in a normal market doesn't work. But if you're going to be in a house 3 or 4 or 5 years as a long-term place to live, build a family, it always pays off. So that's the thing, is the why is own a home, take rent, build your own equity, your own wealth. I just on my Instagram covered where the average homeowner has about $250,000 of net worth to a renter that has about $6,300 in net worth.
Oh, my goodness.
Completely different.
That's huge.
Right.
That's absolutely huge. Heather, how are we on time right now? 3 minutes. Okay. Because I know I was teasing about coming back and saying if you're buying property in 2023, and we just kind of like went off on the thing. So, but we do have, like I said, after break, we'll have more time to talk about it. And I do have a couple questions. So, but I want to keep on this line of conversation because I think that this is hugely important. So where were we at then? Like, so for 2023, what are some of the things that you predict, I guess you could say, for coming up?
I mean, no one has a crystal ball. Mine's in the shop, so
Come
I can't say
on.
100%.
I have one. It doesn't work. But it glows.
It's pretty.
I think there's, you know, the elephant in the room. I think there's some fear out there. You know, the housing market went up so fast. People are wondering, should I buy? Should I wait? What are rates going to do? And then the articles are really interesting because I see in one where it said foreclosures are up 700%.
Is that true?
Which is the click, yeah. But they've been at an all-time low, and foreclosures are still at an all-time low, but they're coming off of it. So it's all like Zillow downgraded their forecast for the housing market next year, but they went from 1.2% appreciation to 0.8. So most people predict next year to be kind of a flat market, right? Meaning you're not going to get massive amounts of appreciation. Where I think people are missing the opportunity is right now, higher rates are entry into a less competitive market. So these first time
you're going to have to, sorry, that just made my head spin. Can you say that a different way?
Higher rates mean higher payments, right? Which is creating less competition. So to me, that's the cost of, if you're a first time home buyer, of getting into a less competitive market, because you've really been locked out of the market the last few years. I just went to Nashville. There were 3 economists there. All 3 of them said the same thing, this big mortgage seminar. One, they predicted a flat market with hardly any depreciation.
For 2023.
For 2023. And all of them predicted rates close to 5% by the end of next year. Well, if rates drop really low again, guess what everybody's going to do?
They're going to start buying.
Jump back in the market. So for first-time home buyers, they really don't want to miss the opportunity. They want to be buying now when it's more in their favor, and then be refinancing when rates drop and everybody else is jumping in at the same time again.
Right. It sounds so much like the stock market to me. It really does, as far as like buying and selling at the right time. But that's why we need people like Rayce and Jorey so that they can
help guide you.
Oh, so we're actually going to be coming up on a break. And so when we get back, we do have a couple of listener questions that we're going to hit. So stay tuned.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And we are back. And this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Ground Up Property Services. Servicing your sprinkler system probably is the most overlooked maintenance of your home, but it's so important. Check out Ground Up Property Services Sprinkler System Service Program at groundupinc.com, or you can call Rick at 407-468-4295. He's a fabulous human being. I'd also like to thank Four Seasons AC, Artistic Beauty, and 33 Tanning Spray, or tanning spa and micro spa with locations in Altamont Springs and Longwood. It is Fun Day Sunday there, so it's mimosas and spray tans. But it's mimosas and other things too.
That's where you need to go after this.
I'm good for the mimosas.
I posted today for the one of the body wraps. I need to get with you on the picture so we can put something together for that.
I thought you were going to say I need to get with you and go again.
Yes, always. That's a given. That's an absolute given. All right, so we're back with Rayce and Jorey, but one thing I wanted to talk about before I get sidetracked is I had a question that was asked of me prior to the show. So Melanie, thank you for asking. So she was looking to refinance her house. But her credit score, I think she said, is in it's below 700, but it's above 650. So she wanted to know if she should go ahead and start the process of doing the refi, or if it would be better for her to wait in attempts to try to get that credit score above 700.
I mean, there's a lot of factors when somebody's refinancing. I probably talk as many people out of refinancing as into refinancing.
Really?
The numbers have to make sense. You know, obviously, if you have a 3% rate and we're going to increase that rate, which we would be in many cases, does that make sense? Because a lot of people have a lot of equity in their home. They could use
they want the money.
Yeah, they could pay debt off, so they can put themselves in a better situation where it does make sense to refinance. And then in her particular case, it's going to depend on how much equity she has. Maybe in the short term, we could bump her score up over the next month or so. So it really, every situation is different. We have to kind of look at the whole situation to determine if it makes sense for her.
From what she told me is that she really wants to pay off some high interest rate credit cards. So that's her ultimate goal, and she knows she has equity in the house. So I told her I would definitely ask you. I should probably just send her to you guys, right?
Yeah, we'd be more than happy to talk to her about it.
But that really does help a lot of people, is to be able to refi even at 5% is better than some of these credit cards that are at 20, 28, whatever ridiculous amounts, right?
Yeah, think about how much wealth is tied up in people's houses right now. So to take that, raise your rate a little bit, but then pay off all of your debt, decrease your total monthly outgo a ton,
and still have and then for her, she just said that she struggles sometimes just making all the minimum payments on the credit cards. And so she wanted to find out if all of that combined, if her mortgage would be less than what she's paying out.
Yeah, and we could help her look at that calculation.
Yeah, it
see if it
sounds
makes sense.
Yeah, you have a bunch of different factors that you kind of consider. So,
do you guys pay attention to what that is? I mean, as a refinance, do you have to say, well, we're going to do this, but you have to pay off this, and this, so that they don't refinance, don't pay the money where they're supposed to, and then they end up defaulting on the loan?
Yeah, so that's part of part of the refinance is if we're saying, hey, we're going to pay off these debts, the title company handles that, so we don't just give them cash and they're like, all right, we're going to go pay, and then never do. Right. But yeah, that gets handled. But with her situation, it definitely it's plug and play. It would definitely be more than happy to look into that for her.
Okay, for
and
sure.
You can get cash. I mean, we had people saying, hey, we wanted to put this pool in forever. We want to do an addition to the
home repairs,
so,
flooring.
You can do all of that for sure.
All right, so got that. On to the next break. We talked about because earlier in the show we talked about the difference between being a broker and then a bank, because lots of times people say I bank with Chase. So I'm just going to go get my mortgage from them. So why would you not recommend that?
I mean, first of all, I always think the house is the fun part, right? The exciting. The mortgage part is the necessary evil, right? The numbers, the math, what you qualify for. And you really need someone to walk you through that process. Chase could be a great bank. There's nothing wrong with them, but there's really no Mr. Chase or Bank of America to care if you lose your deposit or that, to walk you through that process, help you get your offer accepted, bring you through all the way through closing. Banks just really aren't set up to do that. And so I even got a line of credit through a bank a couple years ago. And even in the industry, I was like, man, this is difficult. So
you mean like a home equity line of credit? So do you guys do that as well?
We can do them. Sometimes we will refer to different banks and stuff that we work with. We're always going to look at the client situation and what is best for them.
Okay.
I
know. I mean, like I said, that's actually really interesting. But is that home equity, what they call that, HELOC?
HELOC, yeah. And if you with the Chase thing that you were asking is, if you get a buyer, and we see this all the time, go out, they'll get their offer accepted, right? They've got an escrow deposit. They're paying for an appraisal. They're paying for an inspection. So they've got some money out right out front. And a lot of these banks don't really pre-qual them. They pull their credit, kind of do some basic information, and they send them out looking. Well, the only person that loses if that doesn't close
Wait. You send them out looking for...
They send them out looking for houses. So they'll say you're pre-qualified.
Oh, okay.
But they haven't looked at their bank statements. They haven't looked at their tax returns. And it is more work on our part to actually fully pre-approve someone. But I want to know if someone's out there looking, what do they qualify for, that they know what they can buy, and that the money, because they are going to spend money once they get their contract accepted, right? They're going to do an appraisal. They're going to do an inspection. I want them to know that's good. If they want this house, they're qualified for it, and they can buy it.
Okay. So as a broker, you shop. So what does that look like? Is that just like you say, okay, in radio world, we call it a CNA, client needs analysis. You sit down with somebody and you just ask them a truckload of questions?
You mean the client or like the banks that we...
No, the client.
In regards to like how we go shopping, I mean, yeah. So like we by the time we go shopping for that client, we have their full pre-approval. We know what their file looks like, how qualified they are, what programs.
But I'm sorry, the pre-approvals for each of the locations, are you pre-approved?
Yeah,
okay.
So like once we pre-approve somebody, we take their entire file and we go to every individual bank and we look at pricing or incentives or anything along those lines. Sometimes there's banks that will do loans that no other bank will do, or there's the super qualified client can go to anybody, but a bank A, B, and C will do better incentives for this client because they want our business.
How do you know all that?
I taught him everything he knows.
Doing it.
No, I'll add that we have a 100-point checklist we take buyers through up front, because we see this all the time. We'll have realtors call us that are in the market saying, oh my God, this house is supposed to close in a week, and the buyer was just told by the lender that they can't get their loan.
Oh, geez.
And you know how hard that is to tell everybody you're moving, you've spent money on an appraisal inspection.
That's terrible.
And I mean, how many times have we seen that? So I feel like we owe it to the buyer. It's a little more work on our part, but I want the buyer to be not pre-qualified, but pre-approved. So when you're out there looking, you're confident exactly what Jorey was saying. What's my payment going to be? What rates do I qualify for? What program am I doing? And that I can actually close on the house.
You were saying that banks have different banks have different programs and different things that they can offer.
Yeah.
I did not even know that.
Yeah.
I don't know why that.
Well, that's
not standards.
That's because we're a broker. We're not a direct bank. Like if you went to Chase, as an example, I'm doing a loan right now, which is, the loan right now is I'm doing a 24 months of bank statements, no tax returns, nothing like that. So we're going through this guy's bank statements to verify all of his income, and he's doing a 20% down on it, but no, Chase would, other banks that we would be very well known won't do anything like that.
Why can't you just look at his income tax returns?
Because his income tax returns didn't qualify because he's self-employed. Self-employed, you could self-employed people, you can make $100,000 a year on, gross, but then write off to make $10,000 net.
Ew.
But on your
interesting.
But on your bank statements, you're showing that you're making $100,000 a year because you have $100,000 of deposits. And so the bank that we were using for this guy is looking at the deposits of $100,000.
So this is why you want to come to a mortgage broker into mid-Florida and
instead
not
of just going to your bank and that's it. Yeah.
See, that's something that, so self-employed people, that's huge. I never would even have thought about anything like that. So you collect all the information and then you go to the bank and say, listen, we verified this, and they'll take your word for it?
No.
They're good. Trust us.
Yeah, that's where 2008 happened.
They don't do that anymore.
No.
Don't
They
worry,
learned
these
their
people are
lesson.
good.
No, I promise. I promise.
I remember 2008.
No, they verify, they vet, they blood types and everything in between. I mean, they
Right to the firstborn.
Right. They want vows. I mean, they want it all. But yeah, they take what we've given them, but then they do their digging as well.
Really? Okay. So, all right, we have 3 minutes left, so I'm trying to think.
That went fast.
Yeah, I know. It always does, doesn't it? This is why we're going to 2 hours. Okay, so let's talk about some of the other things that you think is, like I mentioned during the break, where do you want to go with Mid-Florida in the next, I don't know, do you want a franchise? What do you guys want to do?
We want to grow we went through the biggest real estate boom of all times, right? And so to me, the market has went back to helping buyers that want to buy a home, first-time home buyers. And like I was saying, I'm kind of picky on who we add to the team. We're family-owned. So we have been slowly adding to the team. Most of the people that have worked with me for years and years and years. So
Right.
yeah, we're looking to grow, but grow in a way that's still responsible to what I feel like the most important thing is to our clients. And so not just add people, but to get somebody that's on mission with which to me, we're here to create, the American dream of homeownership. That's what we do.
I think that's awesome. I'm trying to think what else. Any other questions for them right now? We still have a couple minutes.
I can give a parting thought if you.
Yeah.
So
you're not leaving just yet because we got to get some contact information.
Cool.
But parting thought's good.
I just say right now, people get caught up in the internet. Like people don't want to miss the opportunity. So right now, the opportunity is if you've wanted to become a homeowner, you can. If you've got $10,000 in the bank account, you can become a homeowner. If you don't have the best credit, you can become a homeowner. If you're self-employed, but you don't show a ton of income, you can become a homeowner.
I'm really glad that we talked about that.
So the thing is, reach out, let us talk to you, let us find out your situation, because everybody's different. Someone may call and say, hey, this is, my situation. Everyone is different. So to me, the advantage of a broker is we can work with a wide range of people and then find the program that's going to work best for them.
And the fact that you have so much experience in it, and that's really what I was getting at, is how do you know that? You know that because you have experience in the field. Yeah. And that's such an advantage of working with somebody that's versed in the industry. Real quick though, actually 1 minute left. Okay, well, this is where we're going to go around the room. So give everybody all your contact information.
All right, so it's Rayce Robinson. You can follow me on Instagram at Rayce Home Loans. Our office number is 321-296-8218. And you can find us at racerobinson.com, and Rayce is Rayce.
Jorey?
Yeah, Jorey Blackmer. You can find my Instagram at that's actually just Jorey Blackmer. So
I know mine's Angela Smarino.
Yeah, I think I just changed it actually recently to my full name. And then the same thing. I have the same website at racerobinson.com. You can also look me up on Zillow using my name, Jorey Blackmer. Same office.
Awesome.
All right. I'm Striking Brand on all social media platforms and strikingbrand.com.
All right. And I'm Angela, and you can get all the information about BaaD Radio on baadradio.com. So have a great week.